Hello, Sarah, Sarita.
Oh, Marta, it's so great to have you. Um, I am thrilled to be doing this Instagram live with you. And for those of you who don't know Marta Garaulet, you're in for a treat. In case you're meeting her for your first time, she's a professor of physiology and nutrition at the University of Murcia in Murcia. I said it correct, right? Murcia in Spain.
Murcia.
And where she's the director of the Obesity Research Group, and she's also the director of research for the Garaulet method, which is a behavioral therapy with the Mediterranean diet and the treatment of obesity. She's also been really interested in chronobiology um, in terms of when people eat. She's won tons of awards for nutrition in Spain. And as you'll see, she's an excellent presenter and full of information. It's great to have you, Marta. And you and I have known each other and been colleagues and friends for more than 10 years.
Yes, you know I love you, Sarah.
And I love you back just as much. And as long as we've been friends, we have talked about why people don't eat beans and pulses. And we've had conversations about this many times. Why is it, do you think, that people aren't eating beans, peas, lentils, chickpeas like they used to in the Mediterranean?
Yes, it's true. So when I was a little girl, so we were used to have beans every week, 3 times per week. And that was the basis of our diet in Spain. However, nowadays, many people have the wrong idea that to have pulses or beans make you fat, make you obese. So here they want to substitute that beans or lentils or chickpeas by fish and meat in order to lose weight. So they think they have just to eat meat and fish and lettuce and salads to lose weight. So people are forgetting about pulses, and that is a pity because recent meta-analysis studies all over the world are showing that beans and pulses or lentils or chickpeas, they don't make you fat. Indeed, they decrease the prevalence of obesity by 18%. So they help you to lose weight if you want to lose weight. So this is a wrong idea.
And why are beans and pulses so healthy?
So they are very healthy, first of all, because they are plant food. But they are very special because they have a high content of in proteins, and this is not normal in plant food. Indeed, they have the same quantity of protein than meat, but without the saturated fat that are usually in meat, no, in animal meats. Also, they have a high content of fiber. I think they are the food with the highest content of fiber. For example, lettuce or tomato, they have 2 grams or 3 grams of fiber per 100 grams of food. However, beans have 20%, so 10 times higher. So that's why they are good food. And the other special thing is that the protein, even though it's not complete, indeed we need to combine, the beans with cereals, for example, with rice or with wheat, because legumes don't have a very important amino acid that is called methionine. However, cereals have it. So when we have rice with beans or lentils with beans, we have the whole protein, and then we have a very good food.
And if people haven't been eating beans and peas and lentils and chickpeas, pulses, How would you suggest that they start consuming?
So I think it's easy to have hummus, because hummus everybody likes. You can, it's very easy. You can make it at home because you can blend the chickpeas with some olive oil. Perhaps you can add some paprika or cumins. And then sometimes I add tuna fish also, but you can do it only with chickpeas. And you blend it, and then you can have a pita bread, for example, with pico de gallo or with cilantro and tomato chopped, and it's so nice and it's very easy, and I think it's a very easy way, and you can find that everywhere in many stores across the US. So when I live there, I find hummus everywhere.
It's everywhere. Do you make your own hummus most of the time?
Yes, so here is not so common as in USA, but yes, we make it at home. Indeed, we have an app, Garaulet, my family name app, cell phone app, that is free. And you can get there and you get all the recipes in the Spanish Mediterranean diet. This is in English for pulses and legumes. So hummus is not so common. It's becoming more common now, but you can cook it and it's very easy here.
When you were growing up, you said you had beans 3 times a week. What kinds of things did your mother make for you?
Yes. So, for example, we have one thing here in Murcia that is called olla gitana. That means gypsy pot. And this is very nice because it's beans and rice, and we add fruit. We add one pear per person. And yes, and you cook it, you boil it, and because the pear is sweet, it gives a special taste. And this is from Murcia, from this region, and it's very nice.
Is it hot?
It's hot like a soup. It's like a soup, because here in Spain, we usually have beans like soups. And that is very common because when with very little money, you have a good protein and you don't need to be rich. Indeed, in Spain, beans are called the protein of poor people. But I think it's very good. And also we have lentils with rice also, and with some serrano ham. And we also have cocido madrileño that is called, it, Sara?
Of course.
Yes, and cocido is also chickpeas, but this time it's with meat and with many vegetables, cabbage, and it's also a soup, and it's very common in Madrid, in Spain, in the main capital from Spain, Madrid.
And are there any the pear dish is sort of surprising to Americans? Are there any other dishes that you would advise for families, drawing on what you know about the Mediterranean diet, beans and pasta, for instance?
Yes. So, for example, I think one dish that I recommend to families and the kids love is to take chickpeas, and then in a pan you put some olive oil, and then you fry the chickpeas. And it's good if you get the canned chickpeas, you have to wash them very well to eliminate all the preservative and that liquid, and clean them. And then with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, you add the chickpeas, then you add there some serrano ham and fresh tomato, and then you fry them. And at the end, you put 1 egg per person, and yes, on the top of the chickpeas in the pan, and you cover that with a cover, and then it gets poached, and it's so nice. Then you break the eggs and you eat the chickpeas with the eggs and the tomato and some ham, And you can add some paprika and everybody loves it. It's very easy and nice. And in 10 minutes you have that.
It sounds great. So can you tell me, why do beans cause gas?
Oh, yes. So this is the only bad thing. Everything has some good and bad things. So it's true that for some people that makes gas, this is because they have oligosaccharides, that is a type of sugar that we cannot digest, and we need an enzyme, a special enzyme that is called galactosidase. So then, because we don't have it, or bacteria, when the beans come into your intestine, the bacteria start to fermentate them in the colon, and they produce methane, other gases, and that's why we have this problem. But it's not such a big problem, because to have you can, for example, get used to beans. So, for example, start with once a week or once every 10 days, and your body will get used to beans, and you won't have these problems very often. And another solution is to soak them, or to rinse them well, because then this sugar, you can eliminate this sugar, not all, but some of it, and that will also help to digest them.
Are there special ways of cooking that?
Yes, I think you can. So I think the most important thing is to how do you say, put them in water for example, 1 or 2 hours, and drop the water off, or to rinse them, and then you cook them as you want. It won't be a problem.
Do you use both dried beans and canned beans?
Yes, because the dried beans are great, but the problem is that you have to put them in water the night before, and sometimes you forget because we are busy, or we don't remember, or we haven't planned what do we want to cook the next day. So
Even you do that.
Yes, even me. And when you get the can, but it's important to have the canned beans without any fat added, just with water. And and also it's important to rinse them well before cooking. But then it's very easy, and in 10 minutes you can make a very nice dish in 10, 15 minutes with these canned beans, and they have the same properties and the same nutritional quality than the dried beans. It's just the same.
Nearly every culture around the world has a rice and beans dish. You talked about Spanish. The thinking of other Mediterranean diet rice and beans dish, or or beans and greens dish. Do you
So for example,
some of your favorites?
yes, so we have a salad that is very easy. You can do it in 5 minutes. You open a beans can, and white beans, and you add, for example, green beans also, and you mix them all cold. And you chop pepper, so red pepper, green pepper, tomato, and some onion, and you add tuna fish, and you mix that with some lemon and olive oil, and it's beautiful, and it's very tasteful and very nice and fresh.
One question I saw coming by was, what about the pressure cooker? Is it okay to cook beans in the pressure cooker? Do you have those in Spain?
So what is that?
It's a way of through pressure cooking very quickly, so that if you haven't soaked.
We don't have that.
Well,
No.
when you come to Boston in June, we'll have to have you learn about pressure cookers.
Yes. We don't have that. No, oh, I don't know it.
So let's talk. We've talked about the that beans are a plant protein, and sustainability is so important. And the Eat Lancet report that came out last year, combining sustainability and of the health of the planet and the health of individuals. Beans seem to be a very and pulses to be a great solution. What are your thoughts about sustainability and the Mediterranean diet and beans and pulses?
So I think they are great. I'm so happy that because this Eat Lancet meeting or consortium was perfect because they recommend half a cup per day or 75 grams per day of beans in everywhere in the world. And now, for example, in USA, only 7% of the population are having pulses once a week. So we have to increase that. That's why I think this meeting is important, Sarah. But yes, for the planet are also great because the quality of pulses, they have high quantity of protein because there is a bacteria, Rhizobium, that is in the roots of the plant, and it can capture the nitrogen from the atmosphere. And that is very good because then it is not necessary to add nitrogen products to the soil, and that will help to the planet. And the other thing is that beans don't need too much water. So with very little water, you can grow them. So that is also a very good solution for the planet. So I think they are perfect, not only for us, but also for our planet.
Is there discussion in Spain about sustainability?
Yes, it is getting more and more important. And especially, for example, in Murcia, I come from the southeast of Spain, in this Mediterranean area. We have very little water, but we have a good soil. So I think it's getting more important each day. So we all, and the nutrition is, we want to make a good diet for the people, but also for the planet.
Yes. We had one question that if you're eating beans and legumes 3 times a week and less chicken and red meat, what are you doing for protein for those other meals? Or are you just eating smaller amounts of chicken and red meat?
Yes, so in Spain, this is usual to have very little meat. And what we have is 3 times beans, but as I told you, we combine them with rice or with wheat, other cereals to have the protein, the complete protein. But we also have fish at least once a week as the main dish. And then we use eggs. We use a lot of eggs, I think.
I think
at least,
so too.
yes. So at least 4 or times a week, but sometimes every day. And we also have in these beans dish, we have some meat, sometimes like jamón serrano, chorizo, so some little portion of meat. And once a week, we have a big portion of meat as a main dish with salad. So, but once a week only, that is what is the official Mediterranean diet in Spain.
Yes, you certainly use smaller amounts of Serrano ham. I remember being at a table once with a Spanish scientist who said that he could be a vegetarian except for the ham.
We love ham. I think everybody here in Spain loves Serrano ham because it's so tasty and nice. Yes. And we also have pasta with tuna. We are very used to, we usually have pasta with tuna and with fried tomato.
Tell me, what do you think about the plant-based meats and fish and cheese? Is it very prevalent in Spain? What do you think of it? Do you think it's a way to reach Eat Lancet goals, or is it just part of the solution?
So I think it's just part of the solution. Indeed, I have been reading several papers, and it's true that there are some studies that show that if you substitute animal meat by this type of food twice a week, you can decrease your triglycerides or total cholesterol, but there are still very few studies. However, we have to be cautious because this type of food, because they are, how do you say, pre-processed food, they usually have a lot of high amounts of sodium, of salt, because they have to be palatable. So they add salt, and they also add type of oils like coconut oil that perhaps are not so healthy as other oils. So I think if I could choose, I would choose beans. But it's true that this can be once a week. It can be a nice way to have plant proteins, but not to have them as the unique way of having plant proteins. This is how I think.
I think it's part of the solution too. Could you tell us a little bit about your the research you have around the time of eating, the chronobiology? I think it's very interesting, and a summary of where you are with this research.
So yes, so we started in 2013. No, 13. We published a paper that was a big paper in the world, because we demonstrated that the timing at when you eat make a difference when you want to lose weight. And those that had the main meal after 3 p.m., they lost less weight than those that have the main meal of the day before 3 p.m. And then we started with dinner, and we found out that if you have dinner during the 2.5 hours before going to bed, you can have high levels of glucose. And that can, but mainly if you have a special genetic variant that is common because it's 50% of the population, and it's called the melatonin receptor 1b genetic variant. So now we know that we should have dinner 2.5 hours before going to bed, and we shouldn't have the main meal of the day after 3 p.m. And we are just going on in all these studies with Harvard and with the University of Murcia. And I think each day we discover new things and reason why this is important.
This must be a hard thing for Spaniards to hear.
Yes, imagine. It's very difficult for us to have dinner before 9 p.m. It's difficult.
One of my colleagues, another Sarah Anderson, who is the Oldways African Heritage Curriculum Coordinator, spent time as a student in Spain. And while she was in Spain, she noticed that chickpeas were always served in soups. And her house mother explained that soups were important, which you did as well, because they help promote weight loss. Could you explain the connection? Is it the chickpeas or the soup, or the chickpeas and the soup that are high in fiber with weight loss? And then we'd love to hear a little bit about the Garaulet method and your app that you put together.
Yes, so I remember when I was in 1989 in the US, when I was doing my master at Harvard, and I was babysitting. And I went to this house in Lexington, and they didn't have spoons, big spoons, because they never had soup, and I was surprised. And that was a question for me: why do we have so often soup in Spain? I think it's a matter of money also, because soups are very cheap, but also because they have a high content of water, so you cannot get fat with water, and also they are hot, and that calm your hunger and make you feel better, especially in winter. So we are used to have soups for dinner many days. But also with beans, as you say, and with garbanzo, fiber makes you feel the satiation is much higher, so you feel full. You don't need to eat more, and only with one dish of soup, of garbanzo soup, you are done. So I think that's why it's useful to lose weight.
Are there a lot of vegetables in the soups?
Yes, so we usually have, especially cabbage with the chickpeas, but also we have broccoli, cauliflower, we have tomato, we include green beans. So we have many type of food that we combine everything we have in the refrigerator, including we put that in the water, boil, and that's it. Yes. And for the Garaulet method, so when I came from Boston, I was it was such a good experience for me to be in Boston when I was 24 and to learn so much from this university and this country that I love, that when I came here, I started to develop this method because I realized how important was the Mediterranean diet and that we could lose it. So it was 31 years ago. And here in Spain, we have now 10 clinics, and we have been 31 years developing this method with the science and also now with the app, with the cell phone app. That is my name, Garaulet app. And now is the first time that we translated that to English.
Right.
And yes, it took time, but we did it. My daughter Olga did, and she's a translator. And then we are opening that to USA and to other countries because I think it could be useful for everybody.
Well, we love the Mediterranean diet, and so May Mediterranean Diet Month. So starting on Saturday, I hope at Garaulet you will be doing some celebrating of the Mediterranean diet.
Yes, of course. And I hope that, Sarah, you can help to introduce these ideas to the USA because we have to make people, not only an 8% of the population, but 80% of the population to have beans. And it's just, we have to start just one of these recipes once next week, and then we start, and then we will love it and follow.
Absolutely. And Americans need to increase their bean pulse consumption legumes by 5 times in order to meet the Eat Lancet guidelines. So we have a long way to go, and it's wonderful to hear the Spanish experience because I think you have such wonderful examples for us to follow, and at Garaulet. And thank you so much for spending half an hour with Oldways talking about bean pulses. And we look forward to having you be back in Boston in June. Are you still coming in June?
I hope to. If the COVID allowed us, I would love to go and see you, Sarah.
Wonderful. And we had a question about the reference on the chronobiology study. Rosie, we will get that for you. And
Okay.
you. And thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ti, Sarita. Bye, and thank you.